this building is really going up. This is, again, right across the street from the Urban Outfitters that was being looted, next to a Starbucks. It's a clothing store that was being looted, and the fire ensued, and now they are trying to put this fire out. You saw when we were on the north side of it, they had a couple of really strong hand lines shooting water directly into the storefront, but somehow that fire has now gotten out of control. I didn't even recognize that fire because you saw it earlier. It looked like they were getting a bit of a handle on it, but not so much.
Wow. Well, that's it looks like they're going to lose one here. So this is one of several fires now that have taken place in buildings that we have seen now. And this is different from what we have seen thus far. This is a building, a business that is on fire in the Melrose area, Melrose at Stanley. This is a kind of a familiar kind of an echo of what we have seen in previous episodes of civil unrest in the city of Los Angeles, going back to 1992 and then before that to 1965. A building looted and then set ablaze. It is a pattern that unfortunately may repeat itself throughout this evening. The chief of the Los Angeles Police Department, Michael Moore, said what happens tonight really depends on the citizens of Los Angeles, on what we can do and what we will allow to happen. His officers, there are 9,000 of them, but that is not enough to be everywhere. They literally can't be everywhere. Half of them are going to work one shift, half of them are going to work the other 12 hours of the day. So it is a city of 4 million people that is being policed by a very relatively, comparatively, compared to other major cities, small police force. We are getting some reinforcements in from Ventura County. The National Guard is on its way. They may be here by around midnight by some reports, and so that will help. But what will really help is if more people observe the curfew and get off the streets, and frankly, if the people who are bent on doing destruction here end up stopping. There are legitimate reasons at the core of this. There are legitimate grievances and complaints and just observances of wrongs that need to be addressed. And what we're seeing here is a tragic result of that, in that people are losing their businesses as a result of that. And some people have been injured. We know of police officers who've been injured. We do not yet know of any civilians who have been injured, but we know a number of arrests have been made, and there will continue to be. We've got a citywide curfew in the city of Los Angeles and also a number of other cities, Pasadena, Santa Monica, and let's see, what else? Several other cities that have, Culver City is one of them, that have a curfew that began at 8 o'clock and will end at 5:30 in the morning. City metro buses, county MTA buses will not be running. They have stopped running. One bus was trashed earlier in the day, completely destroyed. And so for the safety of the riders and the drivers, all MTA buses have stopped running. And this can put some people in a real tough situation, because so many people depend on that. And if somebody was out during the day and then suddenly finds himself with no way to get home, they're kind of stuck. So I would imagine there are more than a few people who are in pretty dire straits with regard to the need for transportation tonight. That young lady that Leanne Suter interviewed a few minutes ago talked about angels, she called them, who are out on the streets right now, who are giving people rides, who are helping people to get home and to avoid the curfew. So those folks are out. And aside from the angels, there are others out who would be much less than that, who would be considered quite different from that, who are causing this wanton destruction. Well, we've got Chris Christie. He's in Air 7 HD, one of our reporters who's been dealing with this all day and all evening, as we all have. I'm feeling some of the weariness, frankly, that we could hear in the voice of the mayor, Eric Garcetti, earlier when he was on the air with us, talking about how the National Guard has been called, how it is time to unify and time for everybody to go home and stay there, and how disappointed he is in the fact that this was going to be a weekend of reopening in the city of Los Angeles. These restaurants that are now, of course, closed, this would have been a night where they could have been open, and people were getting back to business, and now all of that shut down again. Chris?
You're so right. I mean, it really puts a pit in your stomach, and just watching this business go up in flames on the weekend that we were supposed to be reopening. And I got to tell you, a little bit of disturbing information about this firefight. Apparently, they were not able to access the roof in time safely because the LA City Fire Department's manpower has now been depleted. And so that prevented them from making access to this fire, which really concerns me because it's adjacent to a number of other businesses that are clearly exposed. They've got a number of hand lines aimed at this fire, but it's a deep building. It's burning out of control. The flames are shooting well into the air, and it just doesn't take much for those neighboring buildings to catch fire, the Starbucks on the west side or the neighboring businesses on the east side there. So we'll see. They finally have a water cannon up, so they have the ladder truck able to shoot some water from above. But this isn't nearly the firefight that they would normally fight under normal circumstances. Apparently, the LA City Fire Department is running low on personnel as well.
Wow. Well, as we can you zoom in and can we get a picture of the front of the building, see what kind of businesses these are?
Yeah, from my estimation, it did appear to be a clothing store. I couldn't make out the actual names. We'll come around and try. There was a Doc Martens is one of them, but then there's a couple other ones, and I think the one on the right was the one that was originally on fire that may have started in that building. I did see firefighters trying to clear out some mannequins earlier. So it looks like Tony K. I'm not clear what that says below it, or the sign next to it. I'm not sure if you can. I know you guys have slightly larger monitors over there, but I can't make out. It's very dark, and I can't make out that sign.
Right.
But there's Doc Martens,
Doc Martens.
Tony K, and another store
Something
on the right
Los Angeles,
there.
Right. Okay. Well, the owners, I'm sure, know what stores they are, and the people who patronize them know what they are and know where they are. So now all of LA knows that these three businesses have been lost, it appears, and the fight continues to prevent more loss and greater loss this evening. There's an Ash store right next to that is potentially exposed to fire. That store looks like I don't know, has that one been looted? The Ash
looks
store
like it's
right
been
next to
looted.
it?
It looks like it's been looted. Again, I can't confirm that, but it looks like
Yeah,
that
sure
front
looks
window's
like it.
blown out. And some of the neighboring ones look like they're already boarded up. Lots of graffiti. Not sure if that was already there, but it certainly doesn't bode well for these neighboring buildings.
Right. Wow. Well, this is Melrose and Stanley. As you look off into the horizon, are you seeing other fires? Are you seeing other places where flames have erupted, or is it just basically this place right now?
Right now, this is the only one that I can spot. This is the only active fire that I can see in this vicinity, although there have been reports of others. We've seen mostly trash fires. You made a good point earlier that this is one of the first, if not the first, well, like maybe the second, if you include that kiosk, that LAPD kiosk over at the Grove. I think that would make this the second structure fire of the day.
Well, if it's the second, hopefully it'll be the last structure fire of the day, because are you seeing, in terms of the streets, are you seeing a lot of people out, or are the streets starting to get deserted like they're supposed to be with this curfew?
You know, it's kind of the way we've been seeing it for the last few weeks, and it's a little more difficult to even spot the groups of protesters that we've been following all day, which now are turned into riots. We just can't see them because of the cover of darkness. That's what happened over at Carlos Grande's location earlier. They had them cornered on the north side of Rodeo Drive at Santa Monica Boulevard, and once they released that tear gas, I mean, you're talking about hundreds of looters that went running through Beverly Gardens and straight into the hills of Beverly Hills. They ran into the residential neighborhood, and they were hanging out, and once it got dark, it's really just difficult to see up there. Not sure what they're up to or what their plan is. The one thing I noticed is that they have vehicles. These looters have access to vehicles that they have driven from other parts of the city to come and destroy public property, private property, and steal whatever they can.
Wow.
And take it with them. I mean, you saw that ATM over on Melrose. That was just a few blocks from here on Melrose at Fuller Avenue. And again, just after a tough struggle with the ATM, taking a hammer to it and trying to cut it open, they basically just resorted to throwing it in the back of a pickup truck.
That's right. They took that from a nail salon, which, you know, good luck having any money in that. They've been out of business for 3 months, so serves them right.
Yeah, so the shot on the right is from downtown Los Angeles, and you're seeing LAPD officers in riot gear there. So what that tells me is that we've got an incident, we've got something going on there that the police are responding to, and in force and with some alacrity. I'm going to get what street it is and all that. We're going to, if somebody can tell me that in our ear. We're trying our best to get as much information to people as possible. Everybody should be inside. Normally, something like this, we'd tell people, get off the street, get inside, get indoors. It's dangerous. You should all be indoors at this point.
And initially, Eric Garcetti's curfew was only for the downtown area, and it was soon after that he realized he needed to make it citywide. So there you see right there. Can you see the sign on that street sign?
It's
Broadway and 6th.
Yeah, 6th and Broadway, in downtown Los Angeles. Really kind of goes without saying, I want to kind of apologize in advance for, you're going to see signs, you're going to see graffiti, you're going to hear words tonight that we are not allowed to say on television and you're not supposed to be seeing on television, but this is the kind of event where this is going to be happening. So just apologies, kind of a blanket one for all of this, but we are doing our best to cover what is really a tragic situation.
We're gonna move
locations. Christie sounds like he's moving locations. What we can see here is that between 5th and 6th on Broadway in downtown Los Angeles is some sort of mobilization by a contingent of LA police officers and their vehicles. We can presume from that there is a crowd of people nearby that needs to be controlled or dealt with. Chris, as you're heading where you're... Okay, he's talking to his, he's changing positions right now. We're going to give him a second to regroup and get ready. It's interesting as you see from his perspective over the city, groups of places where you see the lights, the blue lights of the police.
And ahead of those cars, I saw a lot of pedestrians. I don't know if those were officers or if those were protesters, so I guess we'll find out shortly now. But obviously, there's some reason that they are being deployed there.
Leanne Suter, still in the on Melrose, I believe. Are you still there? Where are you?
Where are they going? They're making a right.
No, Leanne right now.
Lost Leanne Suter for right now. So what you have is Air 7 changing positions, and as he does so, we can see different pockets of activity, different pockets, excuse me, of police responses and firefighter responses. Keep in mind, too, people are still having heart attacks. People are still falling downstairs. All sorts of other things are still happening in the city that the fire department has to respond to. Paramedics have to respond to. The normal things that happen on a city like this on any given night are still happening. And so there's that response that needs to take place on top of this huge emergency response that's been generated by the unrest that we're seeing.
Just a storm of everything combined with the coronavirus and people finally getting out in the streets and LA County opening up. And this happens on the day that the first Saturday of this phase that we're opening up stores and restaurants for dine-in eating, and this happens, and it's just been a rough few months for the city of Los Angeles and everybody in the country as well.
All right, so Beverly and Kings Road, I believe that is in the Hollywood area, if I'm not mistaken. Christie overhead, what have you got?
I'm with you, Mark. I think this might be unrelated, but what it appears to be was a group of fire trucks being escorted by LAPD units, perhaps for their own protection, but quite frankly, the call very well may just be for your average kitchen fire. We just don't have any idea, but for safety reasons, they are escorting the fire department through town this evening because, as you mentioned, they are getting regular 911 calls on top of all of the other chaos that's transpiring. We're at Beverly Boulevard and Kings Road. Again, lots of units here responding to some call, some 911 call most likely, and we're right down the block from the Beverly Center, which has seen an increased police presence as well. I don't have any confirmed looting at the Beverly Center, but certainly they are keeping an eye on that as well.
And we are looking to see about any type of protesters that are happening in downtown Los Angeles. I was looking on Twitter, and of course that curfew is in effect at 8 o'clock, so it's been in effect for an hour and 34 minutes. We're going to go to Leanne Suter. She has been down on the Fairfax district. And how's it looking there, Leanne? Is it getting a little quieter?
They're starting to clear out a little bit, but let me show you, the looting is continuing at this one store. We've just watched them. They're literally lined up and going in and clearing out. I haven't walked down yet to see, but I believe it is a shoe store. It has to be emptied by now. I mean, we just see people, like, literally they're going in one at a time, everybody getting what they want and heading out, but they keep going inside this one business here and cleaning out anything that they see inside of that one. As I said, all along Fairfax here at Rosewood, there are numerous businesses that have been vandalized and everything inside taken out. But this one in particular, it's very popular, it appears. Lots of folks just waiting to get in and out of that one. And then I haven't seen where everybody's moving from here. We saw them moving north. I haven't heard of anything else yet in this area, but the damage here along this stretch has been done. I mean, there's just numerous businesses, the windows shattered, the gates are actually ripped off from their railings and whatnot as everybody broke in. But you can see, if you can make it out, I mean, we can see that they're lined up. It appears somebody's kind of even in charge of who's going in and out and how often, how many going in and out. And so that is interesting.
Imagine that.
Someone just pulling up here. Yeah, blocking away. So yeah, this is just, it's sad to see, but this is what is happening tonight in several